Hi, Chris Gibbs, Shelby County, Ohio Democratic Party. Yesterday, after the second murder of a U.S. citizen on the streets of America, I had a serious supporter inquire if the local party was going to do something in reference to these killings. I appreciated that because I understand not only the frustration, but also the fear of the unknown and the feeling of helplessness. I understand the urge to react, and I'll always encourage and defend those taking to the streets to address that fear head on. But leadership is not reactionary. It's deliberate, measured, and resolute. Charting a course has consequences beyond the leader. Knowing that, I thought long and hard about how a local party apparatus should respond. At the end of the day, my focus always returns to the core party mission of laying groundwork for winning. That groundwork includes protecting the party brand of shared values, filling leadership seats at the precinct level, listening to and registering voters, and supporting quality Democratic candidates up and down the ticket. That's the response we can control locally. We fight the fight in front of us with the tools we have, not the fight we wish we were in with the tools unavailable to us. Because winning elections is how we send the clearest message that we won't tolerate the murder of American citizens in American streets, let alone the trampling of our constitutional rights. That's how we neuter this administration and hobble its military adventurism both around the world and, yes, now in our own community and our own neighborhoods. More poignant, if our actions don't result in more votes for quality Democratic candidates, it's all for naught. We can start by tapping into the organic outrage that Minnesota has awakened. There are numerous examples, but this one from late yesterday is striking and shows fissures emerging in MAGA world. The National Rifle Association, of all organizations, called out the Trump administration's Bill Esley's first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California with this statement. We condemn the untoward comments of Bill Esley that federal agents are highly likely to be legally justified in shooting concealed carry licensees who approach while lawfully carrying a firearm. The NRA went on to remind that the Second Amendment protects America's right to bear arms while protesting, a right the federal government must not infringe, they said. This is huge, and particularly for the Shelby County, Ohio Democratic Party, which codified in its platform in June of 2024 the statement that we support responsible gun ownership and the right to bear arms. Although it may seem calculated and cold, this is one small example among countless nonprofits we can leverage to amplify our influence, point to, and support grassroots messaging outside the party brand. Who would have believed that the Shelby County Democratic Party has found narrow alignment with the NRA at this moment? But as we learned in Ohio not too long ago with the passage of the right for women to control their own health care, adversity makes for strange bedfellows. So again, honoring these murdered Americans starts with organizing, targeting, and canvassing. It starts with focusing on returning Sherrod Brown to the Senate. It starts by focusing on and sending Amy Acton to the governor's mansion and by funding winnable races in the Ohio U.S. House of Representatives. And for our friends who support us by using social media clicks as a path to winning an election, here's something to consider. In every social media post you create, let's tie the Trump administration around the neck of every Ohio GOP candidate. Don't forget, Donald J. Trump is not on the ballot. But these people are John Husted for U.S. Senate, Vivek Ramaswamy and Casey Pooch for governor, Frank LaRose for auditor, Robert Sprague for Secretary of State. Make each of them own Trump policies. Make each of them have to defend the killing of American citizens in American streets. And there's more. Call out and wrap Donald Trump's militarization of our streets around the necks of each of these Ohio U.S. House members who will show up on the ballot this year. David Taylor, Jim Jordan, Bob Latta, Michael Ruley, Max Miller, Warren Davidson, Mike Turner, Troy Balderson, David Joyce, and Mike Carey. And don't forget your local GOP House of Representatives member. Call them out for their complicity of silence and their tortured public statements as American citizens are murdered in American streets. Call them out as the cowards that they are for being afraid of standing up for law-abiding American citizens exercising their right to free speech and right to assemble for fear of drawing the ire of the White House. They are cowards, unworthy of their office. Make them prove that the Americans murdered before our eyes were in fact the worst of the worst. That the Americans murdered before our eyes were from mental institutions, that the Americans murdered before our eyes were released from foreign prisons, that the Americans murdered before our eyes were gangbangers, that the Americans murdered before our eyes were from drug cartels. Make them prove it. Draw a distinction from our own Democratic candidates and make them own it. Folks, I know you're hurt. I know you're scared. I know you're searching, grasping for stability. I feel that too. But this is not emotional for me. It's mechanical. It's strategic. The way forward is through the ballot box. And the way to the ballot box is through local party organizing and focused in the trenches work. My hope and expectation is that you'll join me there and bring your work boots.